Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. What we're going to do today is we're going to work towards one of the questions that I ask myself is, why don't people get things done that they plan to do? In other words, it's the old New Year's resolution thing, right? How many of you have ever made a New Year's resolution and never got it done? How many of you actually made it? Everybody's done that, right? Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about why that is, and I'm going to give you a framework today to use to be able to make more of your resolutions, and particularly in your business, happen. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're not going to be able to complete the process here. There's no way we can do that in 3 hours, okay? So what I'm going to give you today is a framework on how to do that. And we're going to talk a little bit about why people don't get the resolutions done and what you can do to get your resolutions done. So is that okay with everybody? All right, so I'm going to start out with a few rules of the game. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Action Coach and a little bit about me. That's going to take about 3 minutes, and the rest of the 3 hours is going to be about you guys and what you need to get done in your businesses. Fair enough? Perfect. A few rules of the game, a few housekeeping issues. There are going to be times when we're doing work, when we're actually doing exercises. Those will be the times you'll want to go to the break. I'm not going to just have a formal break, okay? If you want to get coffee, you want to get more food, fine. Help yourself. Just get up and go. The bathrooms are across the hall. They're just dead across the hall. So help yourself. We want this to be a fun, learning environment for you guys. Everybody okay with that? Everybody good with that? Perfect. All right. This guy here is Brad Sugars. He's the guy who founded Action Coach. He started it in the back bedroom of his house in 1993. Okay? He was a local entrepreneur in Brisbane, Australia. And from there, we've grown to 1,100 offices around the world. He started franchising in 1997. And we're helping 10,000 businesses around the world at any given time. What we do is we work with small and medium-sized businesses. That's all we do. All right. A little bit about me. I joined Action Coach about 6 years ago. My background, I started life as an engineer. I went in corporate for a couple of years and worked out that I probably wasn't suited for corporate, and then went back and didn't know what else to do, so I went back to school and got an MBA and ended up getting a wife as well. And we moved down to Charlotte, and I got a job working for a family business, a wholesale distributor, and they hired me to be the marketing manager, and a father and son ran it, and they had about 35, 40 employees. And I was there about 3 or 4 months, and they fired the guy running the business, the biggest part of the business, and said, "Bill, we want you to run it." So I'd never had an employee. And then I had 30 or so the next day. Oh, by the way, we're losing money. And so we needed to fix that. So we did that pretty quickly. I did that for about 5 years, decided I wanted to go into business for myself, moved down to South Carolina where I'd grown up, opened up an automotive-related business. Did that for about 12 years and had a blast for 7. And anybody had that fun? Anybody had that feeling? Been in business sort of a while? Hey, who's been in business more than 5 years? Yeah, you still having fun? Yeah, good. Good. Yeah, excellent. Yeah. So, but anyway, my wife looked at me one day and said, "You're miserable. I want to take a job in the Shenandoah Valley, Virginia." And so we did. She took a job at her college as the alumni director, and she'd been running a medical practice. And yeah, we went up there, and I got involved in some poultry-related businesses. Long story short, we bought a couple of businesses, sold a couple of businesses. And once we sold an automation company that we had, I didn't have anything to do. And so I was looking for a job. I got a call one day, and it said, "You ever thought about being in business for yourself and not by yourself?" And I said, "I've done that before, looking forward to that." And it was this idea of Action Coach, did my due diligence. So 6 years later, here we are. I spent about the last 5 years in the Shenandoah Valley, and then we've recently relocated here. My wife works out at Montreat Conference Center, and so we're here in Asheville. We're having fun. My vision is to help thousands of businesses here in Western North Carolina, not just hundreds, thousands. And so that's the purpose of this. to start that process today. A few of my clients are in the room, and I hope you guys will have some chances to talk to each other and meet some people along the way. This is my family. That's my wife, my two sons. My oldest son is he graduated at Davidson, and he's at graduate school up at Chapel Hill in chemistry. My youngest son's a senior in high school. That's me with Brad over there. I'm fortunate enough to earn an award. Believe it or not, that little G.I. Joe looking thing's our awards. It's called an Action Man, but it's the British version of G.I. Joe, basically, and it's cool. Anyway, that's me with some coaches over in the Great Wall of China. We're having some fun there, and I have some hobbies. I've got all the vices. I like to hunt and fish and play golf. So that's sort of me. That's why I do what I do. Anyway, enough about me. So let's talk a little bit. Any questions about Action Coach or me? We can talk about that later. I don't want to spend today's time with that. Fair enough? Okay, perfect. All right. So a little bit about learning. Who knows the right brain, left brain thing? Okay, great. What's the left brain? Analytical, right? Okay. So the left is words, math, logic, that sort of stuff, right? Okay. The creative would be the right brain. That's right. That's right. That's where the art comes in, the music, the creativity, and the feelings, the emotions are in there. Okay? So how many of you are right-brained? Very right-brained in the room? Let's see the hands. Get them up high. It's okay. You can admit it. Okay? Left brain? Perfect. It's about half and half. Isn't that interesting? Okay? All right. So what's the point? The point is we want to reach both sides of the brain. In order to be truly good at what we do and to truly learn things, then we have to use both sides of our brain. We have to use the logic side and the creative side. Does that make sense? How many of you left-brainers think you're not very creative? Anybody in that? Okay. So here's a question for you. If you were in a traffic jam out here on 240, are you going to be trying to figure out what's the quickest way you can get around that jam and get off and get on some back road? Who's going to do that? That's creative. That's where you get creative. Okay, so everybody's got creativity. I mean, everybody's got the analytical side in it. How about you right-brainers that don't like numbers? Is anybody here that... There's a bunch of that, right? It's perfect. Okay. All right. So what happens is, and what's going to happen today is we're going to go over a ton of stuff, and you're going to be confused at some point. That's okay. That's okay. Who's confused right now? Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah. All right. So how many of you can remember back to high school where maybe it was getting late at night and you were doing, say, a math problem and you just couldn't figure it out? And you said, the heck with it, I'm going to bed, I'll do it in the morning. Anybody ever do that? You get up in the morning, what happens? You get it done because the brain works it out. That's what's going to happen today. There's going to be a lot of concepts we're going to go over. Some of them are going to be creative and some of them are going to be logical. And I can guarantee you that you're going to feel like that you've sucked in a fire hose. Okay? All right? Just bear with me. Just go through it and it'll all sort of sort itself out. The brain is a really fascinating and very powerful organ in the body. Make sense? Okay, perfect. All right. So, what do we do to deal with that? You'll notice that there's some colors, some crayons on the table. Okay, if you were 5 years old and those crayons had been sitting on the table, what would have happened? You'd have had them out on those blank pieces of paper, right? And you'd have been coloring. So why did we stop? Why aren't any of y'all coloring? Is anybody here coloring? Good. Okay, I think what happens is somewhere along the way he said, you know what? We're not allowed to be, if you're an adult, you wouldn't color. Sometimes we need to get in touch with our sort of inner kid, right? And use crayons. So what we find is if you take notes today, you're going to remember more. If you take it in color, you're going to even remember more. I would encourage you to break out the crayons. Use the crayons for your things. Use your things. I use the crayons when I go to conferences and take notes. I'm going to get you to call out answers because it's going to help you remember what we did today, okay? I'm going to get you to raise your hands. I'm going to get you to do it. Now, we're going to do a little left brain, right brain exercise. It's going to take about 5 minutes. So what I want you to do now is I want you to find somebody, stand up, and find somebody that you don't know and go introduce yourself to them and pair off in twos, okay? Right now, go ahead, get up. I know you don't want to do this. Come on. Everybody get up. Find somebody you don't know, Shoot, one of you's A, one of you's B. Who's A and who's B? Got it worked out? All right. A's say to B's, congratulations, you get to go first. Okay. All right, you B's, I want you to take your hands, okay, and turn them like this. Now, if you have a bad shoulder, do not do this. Okay, cross them over with your thumbs down and lock them, and then bring them down and up like this. Okay, if you have a bad shoulder or something, don't do it. Let the A do it. Okay. All right, so you're going to have your hands like this. Does anybody not have that? Okay. Okay. The other person's job is to point at fingers without touching them, and your job is to move your finger. Okay. Do not touch them. Okay. Point at the fingers and do not touch them. Go ahead. Try it. No. B. I don't think you have it right. You have it right? Yeah. All right. Swap it up. Take your hands, put your thumbs down, cross them over, connect your fingers, and bring them back up. Okay. If you couldn't do it, don't worry about it. Give it a shot. Point at some fingers, and let's see if they can do it. All right, thank your partners and have a seat. All right, thank your partners, have a seat. Good job. Who had a hard time with that? Who was good at it? Yeah, some people do it. Who got better as you went along? Yeah, and that's what happens with your brain on the left and right side. They start connecting. Just by flipping things around a little bit, just so you can't visually see it, it messes it up. It's amazing how little, it'll do it. So expect that in your learning along the way. Okay? Any questions about the rules of the game? Now I'm going to make you participate. Just get used to it. Just get used to it. I'm warning you. If you don't, if you came in here expecting to sit back and be bored, I don't know why you're here. Let's go. We'll have some fun. We'll use some pictures to help you with the long term. We're going to do some exercises, which is going to help the kinesthetic people in the room stay interested. Which kinesthetic just means you like to learn by doing, okay? Because not everybody likes to learn by hearing. Some people need to see, some people need to do. Fair enough, okay? All right, so we're going to do all three. All right. Okay, how many of you know somebody that it's never their fault? How many of you work with somebody like that? Anybody related to anybody like that? Okay. All right, so what do? There's a hand that's up there. Yeah, they're in the blame mode. They're playing the blame game, right? Okay? So I'm going to give you a few rules of the game for today and hopefully for life over the next few minutes. And frankly, one of the reasons people don't, and I promised you about 8 or 9 reasons why people don't get their resolutions done. The first one is they don't have the proper mindset. Okay, so we're going to talk about mindset for a little while and getting our mindset right. All right, so, and what is their statement typically? I would have gotten it done, but the dog ate my homework. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't hear you. We had a flood. Anyway, what are they doing? Excuses. They're making excuses. And then the worst of all, the lowest form is actually, there's not a problem. It's okay if I keep recycling the year, every year. See, what I find a lot of business owners do, and in corporate it's really bad, people just repeat the same year over and over and over and over again. Yeah. Yeah, and expect a different result. That's right. They're in denial. You have to, it's interesting, it's a continuum. You have to move from denial, at least if you're making an excuse, you're above denial. And then if you're blaming somebody, well, you're out of excuse. At least you're trying to blame somebody else. Now, we call that behavior below the line behavior. Okay? That's what that middle thing up there is. It's called a line. It's really complicated technology we have here. So, okay, now, if in fact blame, excuse, deny is below the line, then what's above the line? Come on. Ownership, accountability, responsibility. So you move from responsibility to accountability to ownership when you go above the line. Now, I like words. Look at ownership. If you take out the ER, what do you got? Ownership. It's your own ship, folks. You can control it. You have a rudder. You know, you have a sail. You can buy a daggone motor. You know, it's your ship. Okay, what about accountability? That's able to be held to account. Okay? Now, are there things outside of our control in life? Yes or no? Yes. Yeah. Now, what are we able to do? We're able to respond. We're able to deal with it. We're able to respond. How we respond is the thing. Now, there's a lot of things outside of our control. So, is it okay with you guys today if we keep it above the line? See, I have this deal. Now, I have this deal with my clients, and William Bob can tell you this. When we go below the line, yeah, it's not going to be, you know, I'm allowed to call them on it. They're allowed to call me. We all do it, right? How many of you say, I can't believe it. You go off on some tirade and you realize that you're in that blame game or you're making excuses. Now, what happens below the line? Nothing. Who said not a lot? Yeah, nothing. Yeah. So in order to get anything done this year, we need to be above the line. Does that make sense? Okay? Is everybody okay with playing above the line today? Right? Just let me see a show of hands. Or that's pretty good. I usually have to say who's never going to raise their hand. Yeah, good stuff. All right. Okay, perfect. All right, we have another saying. The only failure is the failure to show up, to be there, to participate. How many of you know that if you give all you got, you're going to get more out of it? You're going to get just intuitively. You've learned that over life, right? Whatever you put something into it, you know, if you don't put the effort into building a relationship, it just doesn't happen, right? If you're trying to sell somebody something, you don't put the effort or the time into it, it just doesn't happen. Does that make sense? Okay, I think we all know that. So what I'm going to ask you today, now, how many of you have ever driven more than, say, an hour and have no clue how you actually got there? Yeah. So the question is, were you participating in that driving experience at 100%? It doesn't mean you were dangerous. We've all done it. We're what we call unconscious competent. We're good at driving a regular car. Now, if we went into a Formula One car, it's a different story. Different story. We could probably do it, but we'd first be conscious incompetent, and then we'd be conscious competent. When you first learn to drive, you're tired when you drive an hour because you're concentrating the whole time. You're not good at it yet. Does that make sense? Okay. So, what I'm going to ask you is, you're here, so you're 100% here. You made the first step. What I want you to do is be 100% here today as well. Fair enough? Everybody okay with that? Anybody not okay with that? Great. All right. How many of you have teenagers? Anybody ever been a teenager? Everybody? Okay. All right. What's the statement? They're pretty smart, aren't they? Who's got teenagers right now? They're brilliant, right? They're unbelievable how smart they are. Yeah. So now, also, what happens when we say "I know"? But they don't. Yeah. What else does it do if you say "I know" to yourself? Yeah, you're not open. There's no learning going on. So I want you to take the "I know" today and just put it aside. Fair enough? Let's just assume we don't know it. I mean, if you think about this statement, it is pretty arrogant. With all the knowledge in the world, I mean, you know, I don't know much about medicine or architecture or civil engineering or biology. I know a fair amount about business, but the amount I know is minuscule compared to the amount of business knowledge in the world. It's pretty arrogant to say I know, don't you think? So we'll just put that aside. Fair enough? Everybody okay with that? Good. So what we replace that statement with is, isn't that interesting? And what I find is that a lot of times, I know as a business owner or being in business, somebody will come to you with something and you'll say, I know, or we tried that, didn't work, whatever. Who's been in that situation? Either side of it. Everybody. So how'd you feel when somebody said, you come up with an idea and they say, well, we tried that, 12 years ago and it didn't work. How'd you feel? Did you want to go back and give them more ideas? Yeah. No, I mean, the problem is, but if you say that's interesting or isn't that interesting, what does that do? Just sort of leaves it open. It gives you a chance to consider it. I don't know about y'all, a lot of people I know need time to consider ideas. They can't just make, it's an idea, let me think about it. It's okay. Great, that's what that does. Instead of saying, I know, we tried that, blah, blah, blah. Might be time to try it again. Right? Okay. All right. This is the shortest flip chart that we have in action, but I think it's important. How many hours do you guys spend at business every day? Just throw out some numbers. 15, 12, minimum. I thought you were just saying minimum. Minimum, 3 minutes. No. Well, we spend a lot of time, and even if we're not at business, here's our heads. Yeah. Makes sense? So, what I'm suggesting to you is, if you're not enjoying it, you need to consider that. There needs to be some change to have some fun. I believe you got to have fun. I believe business ought to be fun. I believe it ought to be, you're going to spend a lot of time I think people want to be productive. I think people enjoy being productive. I think you want to have some fun with it. So, it's okay. I'm going to joke with you guys today. I hope y'all are going to joke back. Okay, we'll have some fun. I want it to be a good, good time. I mean, you're here, you're investing your time. We need to have some fun. I believe it. What's life worth if you can't have a little fun? Fair enough? Good. All right. So, I need your permission then. I need your permission to coach you today. Is that okay? Is anybody not okay with that? You might want to think about that. So, because if you think about all the great mentors you've had in your life, or whoever's been an influence in your life, were they always nice? No. You've heard the term tough love. Yeah. I mean, sometimes that needs to happen. So, I can't care more about you and your business than I do. If I care more about your business than you do, then there's a problem. Does that make sense? Okay? So at times I may have to be tough as a coach. Nothing inside me cares enough, is what we say. So I care enough to do the things that I need to do to get you to do the things that you need to do. Make sense? All right. You guys are still okay with that? All right, good. You've all heard this one, right? That's what we're about. We're not about doing it for you, so to speak. I mean, if you don't do it, you got to learn to fish. I like to fish. Don't eat many fish anymore, but I like to fish. Yeah. All right. So, one of the things that's going to happen today is what we call BFOs. So, blinding flashes of the obvious. So, if you get a blinding flash of the obvious, what should you do? Write it down. How many of you have ever had the $1 million idea at 4 in the morning? Got up the next morning and had no clue what it was. Yeah, they're coming by all the time. All right, if you turn to well, it's actually page 2 in your book, but it's the first page. There's something on there called the green sheet, which is white. It's usually green, but we printed it in white this time because that was easier. And so if you get a BFO today, I want you to turn to page 2. If it's easy for you, rip it out. I don't care. I just got it all together. And I want you to write down what that idea is, or that strategy that you come up with is. And what do you think that's worth to you? And I don't care what time period you use. You could use a day, a week, a year. Most people use a year. How much is it worth to me over the next 10 years, whatever. And I think it'll help you to see what you're getting. You know, hopefully you'll get it. Does everybody know what I mean by the BFOs? It's wow, why didn't I think of that? Sometimes it's something you already knew and just weren't doing. A lot of times it's just, I'll give you an example. I worked with an insurance company, and there was an old-time insurance guy, and he'd been around for I don't know, he was 3 years from retirement or so. And he said to me, you know, we were having a meeting, we were doing some training, and I said, what are some things you used to do that worked? And he said, well, when I'd meet people, I used to give them business cards. I said, well, why'd you stop? He said, I don't have any business cards. I said, well, go buy. Well, what do you think? He said, I think I'm going to try it again. So he went and got some more business cards. And 2 weeks later, and it's really old school, you know, it's called the 3-foot rule. Anybody gets within 3 foot of you, you say, you know, hi, I'm Bill. You know, you probably don't need insurance right now, but when you do, I'd love to have a shot at it. That's basically what it is. You know, here's my card, and you know, you've met them, okay? It's a face-to-face contact, and so you do it in, you know, the line at the bank and at the grocery store and all that stuff. So I saw him 3 weeks later, and I said, how's the business card thing going? He said, Bill, I signed, you know, 2 new policies last week because of it. And there's no telling how much business he would have had over the years if he had just kept it up. You know, something he forgot about doing. It was a blinding flash of the obvious. For him, it worked for him. He's a small town, worked for him. So when you get a BFO, we're going to write it down. We're going to write it down here, okay? Any questions about BFOs? Yes?
That's not the same as scheme of the week.
Scheme of the week. I'm not familiar with that term, but no. It doesn't seem like, no, the scheme of the, I don't know. What's your view? What's the scheme of the week in your mind?
That's sort of something completely different.
Okay. All right. Okay. A BFO is just, you know, in day-to-day stuff, and when you're out, and today you'll have a few, you'll get an idea. You know, a lot of times I find that there's only about one or two places left in the world where there's not a whole lot of outside, you know, technology coming at you. You know, and the shower is one of them. So I get ideas in the shower. So when you get an idea, the idea is to write it down. It doesn't matter if it's a good idea or a bad idea, write it down. It might be a BFO, it might be something that could change. And then you decide, hey, this is something I want to put into action or something I don't want to put into action. Does that help? Does that help, Leslie? Okay, good. All right. All right, so what I want you to do is turn over to the next page, which is page 3. And I want you to get out your markers or your pens or whatever you're going to write with. And I want you to write down, I want you to take a few minutes, and I want you to write down why you're here. What do you want out of today? What are you looking to get out of today? We'll give you a little think music. Give you a few minutes to work on that. All right. So what do you got? Okay, well, just shout out some of them if you, yeah. There's blank pieces of paper if you run out of room or need some scratch paper or want to draw a picture or whatever. Ideas. Okay. Who else? What else?
Motivation, take action.
Motivation. Does anybody know what they need to do and maybe just haven't done it?
Realizing the potential of the future.
Potential. Understanding a little bit more about your big dreams, so to speak. Yeah, good.
Refresh my attitude.
Yeah. Anybody else say amen to that? Yeah. It's a good time of the year to do that. I think it's a natural time to do that, and I think it's real easy to have that enthusiasm and then lose it by about the third week in January.
How about maximizing technology? Because you've got so much influence of
Technology, understanding technology, sure. Yeah. What else? There's no right or wrong here, guys. We'll keep it above the line. What else? Come on.
Renewed hope.
Renewed hope, okay.
Learn from others' experiences.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of power by having 25 or 30 brains in one room. And I think one of the things we don't think about in business is we think we're the only one who's got these issues. And that's just wrong. I can tell you, I see hundreds of businesses, and we've all got the same issues. They're a little different severity sometimes, but yes.
What sets me apart from my competition?
Right. Yeah. Uniqueness. Want to find out, work on what makes you unique. Good.
Make somebody a new customer.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We're here to meet other people too. Part of why we're here. Good. Yeah. What else? Good. Okay. Some of this stuff will be, we'll touch on, but we'll be a little bit beyond the scope of what we got time to do today. But we'll get there. Anybody else got anything vastly different? Beth, you got anything? Anybody got that issue? Yeah, we all do. I mean, when you think about it, time is really the big deal when you get down to it. How do we invest our time? Yeah.
I want to see if I'm above the line instead of below.
Stay above the line? Yeah.
I want to see where I think I'm.
Okay. It's easy to drop below. It really is. It's easy to do that. Anybody else want to share? Even if you don't want to share?
Helping simplify the process.
Simplify things. Yeah, one of the things that, it's interesting, in school they teach you to do your own work. In business, it's actually the other way. We just call it market research. So, if one of these ideas hits you, write it down. It's okay. That's why we share these things. So that, maybe there's something you want to work on this year that you didn't think of today. Well, there you go. There it is. Somebody else helped you out. That's where the brain comes in. All right. Well, as we're keeping that in mind today, hopefully we'll hit on those as we go along the way. All right. So this is really it, isn't it? This is why people don't achieve what they want to achieve. You think? It's one of the reasons. Fear of something. Some people are scared of. So, false evidence appearing real, false expectations appearing real, whatever the acronym you want to use is. I think it's helpful to see that. How many of you? Well, let me ask you this question: You folks that are, well, it doesn't matter. When you've ever taken a new job or started the business, when you started your businesses, is it like what you thought it was going to be like when you started it? Okay. It's not necessarily better or worse. It could be better, it could be worse, but usually it's different. Okay, how about marriage? When you went into marriage, is it different than you thought than you thought it was going to be? Yeah. It is. Look, and a lot of times the stuff we're scared of is not really how it is. It's just different. So I find that the fears a lot of times are worse than the actual outcomes. So it's usually better to go ahead and take action and move on. Yes, sir, Bob.
A friend of mine describes his business. He said it's like a car wreck. You can't describe it. You've been strapped in it and gone for a ride.
There you go. That's right. You can't, unless it really is hard. Has anybody here ever been a general manager of a business and then bought it? Anybody done that? I've talked to I've talked to how it's different, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, you think you got it, but then it's just different. So, so part of what we're dealing with, and part of the reason people don't get their resolutions done, is because they're scared of what's going to happen. They know they need to do it, but they're scared of something. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of somebody's going to laugh at them, fear of ridicule. I don't know. I'm not sure. I just know that it boils down to some kind of fear, and you need to be looking inward to figure that out. All right, so take a look back. It's the next page over, by the way. It's page 4. There's a blank page there. So what are the biggest, and I want you to write these down, what are the biggest 5 things that you've learned in the past year? What have you learned in the past year? You might want to look at what your challenges were and what you learned out of your challenges. If you're having trouble figuring out what your learnings were, look back at some of the challenges you had this year, because usually the best learnings come out of the challenges that you had. So we'll take a few minutes on that, write them down. If you're having trouble with that one, talk about it on your table, discuss it, do some market research. What are some of the biggest learnings that you had this year? Who learned something?
To take action.
Take action. Yeah. Just start.
Get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, okay. Good. What else?
If you get knocked down, you've just been given a new perspective.
Yeah, it's sort of when one door shuts, another door opens kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely. I think the greatest lessons, how many of you have ever had a job that you didn't like? Come on. Somewhere along the way we had a high school job or something you didn't like. If you never had a job, did you learn anything from that job? Yeah. What else?
If you think it, do it that way.
If you think it, do it. Yeah. A lot of times it's better to go ahead and try something and just get on with it. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, a lot of times you can adjust in stream and make it work. Yeah. What else?
It's different than because I
It's the
take
same.
time to breathe, You got to take time to breathe to get that in order.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
It depends on,
It still works
Yeah.
either way,
Yeah, well, I mean, you always want to, you still got to analyze what happens once you take that action.
Yeah, that's true.
You got to stop long enough to take the action. But if you come up with an idea.
You gotta learn to count the cost.
Okay. Count the cost. What he said was count the cost. In other words, a lot of the things we do emotionally. And so sometimes we have to get on the logic side and figure out, hey, how much is this actually is this a good investment or a bad investment kind of thing? Whether that's time or money or whatever. What y'all got back there, ladies? Value of a team. Excellent. Yeah. Yep. The team really does want leaders. They really do. It's excellent. What else?
You can work on my business as well as in my business.
Yep. Need to work on it as well as in it. Yep.
And that's pretty similar to what I was talking about was structure to the work week and just starting a new business. It's so easy to get caught up in that direct care, basic running, day-to-day kind of stuff. And
Doing. Yeah.
Find that time to focus on the marketing and growth and strategic planning.
It's really easy to get caught up thinking you're busy and not actually working on the business. It's good. Yeah, it's very good. Yeah. What else?
My time is a value.
Time. Yeah, how many of you know the value of your minute? Maybe we sat down and said, how much is my minute? How much is every 5 minutes worth to me? Or every hour? It changed your perspective in a hurry. At your highest and best use. If you said, at my highest and best use, I can earn, by the way, most of you can earn way higher than you think. It's probably well into the hundreds an hour at the highest and best use that you have. $200-300 an hour for most of you. There's some things that's not possible. So it's a great point. One or two more? Listen. Excellent. Yes.
I was taught early on that you can't worry about yesterday. You got right now and what's in front of you.
It's good. Everybody hear that? Focus on the present and what's next. Yesterday, learn from it, but move on. If you spend all your time worrying about yesterday, it's good for you to remember, Bob. It's a little bit of an inside joke there.
And I'll tell you one other thing my dad taught me in '86. He said, don't worry about your competition. And he said, when people stop coming to your door, start worrying, but run your business. Don't worry about their business.
Yeah, you got to focus internally on what you're doing and do it right. Doesn't mean you're blind to what they're doing, but a lot of times, a lot of our issues are at home. If we take care of business at home, good things will happen. One or two more? Keep it simple. Yep. Keep it simple, stupid. Yep. Good. We tend to, in America, for some reason, we tend to want to complicate things. I mean, in a lot of ways, business is pretty simple. We have a valuable product or service that we provide to people, and we need to show them how that we can do that. So basically, we got to go sell that service and then do that service in a quality fashion. It's not really hard, but we want to complicate it. Good. Thanks, Five. Anything else?
Be more proactive than reactive.
That's sort of back to the busyness. You're 100% reactive mode when the business is coming at you, and you're not proactive. That's why I really congratulate y'all for being here, because this is proactive. This is thinking about what we're going to do with the business. All right. What were your biggest wins last year? What were your biggest successes? Because we want more of those, don't we? How many want more successes? Yeah. All right. What are some of the wins?
Still in business.
Still in business.
Got 2 vacations this year.
2 vacations.
First time in how long?
3 or 4 years.
Hey, look, I think we all been there. If you're in business, I mean, if it's coming at you and you're in 100% reactive mode, you just don't stop long enough to book a vacation in. You just don't do it, and you can't feel like you can't. Everybody ever been there? We've all been there. Yeah. Yeah, got paid every week. What else? Really? Yeah. By the way, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. That's right. I mean, what we're talking about here today doesn't really have anything. Yeah, it's great. Congratulations. Hope you're doing what they tell you to do. Whenever somebody says try, I'm gonna be a coach here a little bit. I like the what is it that Yoda says? Do or not do, no try. I mean that in all the love in the world. Yeah. Yeah. What else?
For me, it was a movement from 15 years of corporate management structure in big box stores to where they have great ideas, but it was a box that you'd fit in to meld yourself to it. So I reinvented the box in a sense this past year, and I relearned that I can accomplish whatever I set my mind to. I stepped out of that mold that I had been pushed into for 15 years.
Good. It's hard. It's hard to do. Good. That's a big win. Maybe some applause there, huh? Yeah. What else? Yes.
Learn to say no. Yes.
Yeah. It's a good one. That's a tool. I'll give you a tool. How many of you have ever taken your client list and said, okay, divided them up by A, B, C, and D? D means dead. Get rid of them. They don't pay you anyway. A is your A grade clients. B is the B that you hope is the main part of your business. C is you really can't do business with them. They've either got to become Bs or you're going to get rid of them. It's kind of an interesting exercise because we all have clients that really are costing us money, period. Good. That's excellent. It's a great win. It's hard to do because you're in the business of selling, right? You want to sell something. You want to get that business. Yeah.
Greater business, isn't it? In the music and all.
Yep. Had a growth. Actually had a nice sales growth year. Yeah. Any other wins people want to share?
More companies coming to us to sell their products.
Yep. More vendors are coming to us. Yep.
Learn things from unexpected places.
Yes. I think we don't celebrate our wins enough. That's why I want to bring it up and talk about wins. You know, what really happened well? What happened? How can we get more of that? If you look back on last year, even if you had a bad year, there were some wins in there. There's some wins along the way. There always are. Okay? And I think when we have a win, we need to celebrate. We need to reward ourselves. And that can be simple stuff. You know, go out to dinner. You know, go to a movie. Take 30 minutes and take a hike. You know, whatever it is.
Buy a new desk.
Yeah, get a list of stuff you want, not allow, you know, when you have a win, you know, go buy yourself a Coca-Cola or something. I mean, you know, just anything that signifies, hey, this is, you know, the little wins are important too, because that gives you the big ones. So, I mean, you know, Bob talked about not looking at the history, but I think it's helpful to see why we had wins, what the challenges were, what the lessons we learned from them, so that we don't repeat them. We repeat the wins and don't repeat the lessons. Does that make sense? Okay, sorry. All right. I want to give you a formula for change here. Okay, so we started with mindset. We've done a little bit of review. You should always review what happened so that you can learn from it and then put it behind you and move on. And we've done a little bit of, now we're going to do a little analysis, which is sort of the process along the way. So, to change, D times V in parentheses plus F has got to be greater than R. Okay, so what does that stand for? The D is on your page. So, D is dissatisfaction. So, what are you dissatisfied about? What's bugging you enough that you think it might be you want to change? Okay, this is the only way you're going to change. If you think about it, you'll never change unless you take this formula into account. Vision. What's the vision? So if you're completely ticked off about something, but you have no vision on how to fix it, then the V is going to be 0, and so it's multiplicative up there in that formula. D times V. What's times 0? 0. So you're probably not going to have enough to get over the hump of whatever's holding you back. Does that make sense? F is first steps. So if you got the vision and you got dissatisfaction, you still don't know how to start. Sort of like what Patrick was talking about. Just do something. Just get going. Just get going. You know. But, you generally want a little bit of a plan. And the R is resistance, whatever's holding you back. Generally, some kind of fear. Okay? So we've got a little exercise here. Now, the way you do this exercise is you write down what you're dissatisfied about beside the D. It's on page 6. Okay? All right? Then you write down your vision. Then you skip to the resistance and write down, okay, why am I not accomplishing what I want to do? And then you come back to the first steps and say, okay, what are the things I need to start doing to get started on this thing? So let me give you an example. How many of you, after going through the holidays, could stand to trim up a little bit?
Me.
Look, I'm raising my hand. We've all, yeah. Great. So if you were dissatisfied with that, let's say that you wanted to. All right, I'll just use me. Let's say I'm 185 pounds and I want to be 170. Okay, so the dissatisfaction basically is I'm 15 pounds overweight. Okay, the vision is 170 pounds. What's the resistance? The resistance is eating, laziness. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, every kind of excuse in the world. By the way, the reasons are usually way below the line. But by the way, above the line, that's where you get results. Below the line, you hear reasons. Above the line, you're the victor. Below the line, you're a victim. The woe is me. So usually the R. And then the first steps were, you know, for me, it's going to involve having to get a trainer. Because one of the things is I don't actually know what I'm supposed to be doing. I have no idea. I know I need to eat less and exercise more. That's about it. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. So, what are you dissatisfied about in your life and in your business? We're going to take a little while on this. I want you to work through this. This is important. And if you have a challenge with it as you go along, you know, raise your hand or call me over and we'll talk through it. Okay? As soon as somebody gets a good one, I'd like to use it for an example. All right? Vision would be, well, if you're not happy with, let's say, with the amount of profit that we have in the business, then the vision would be how much profit do we want to have? Okay. Yeah, a great question over here is asking me about the vision piece. You want to be really as clear as you can about the vision. You want to be clear. So if you're not satisfied, for example, with the amount of profitability that you have in the business, then the vision would be, I want to make X amount of money, profit. You see the specificity on that, the clarity is what you want on the vision. It's just, you know, it can't be, well, I'm not happy with how much money I make. I want to make more money. That won't work. The vision's got to be clear. So thanks for bringing that up. So you want to get really clear about the vision. You want to be specific about what the vision is. Now, who's having a challenge? Yeah. Good. Oh, you're good at this.
I'm not.
You're not?
No.
You're not dissatisfied about anything. You're just happy with life, huh?
I mean, overall, but of course I'd like
What's
to
your
make more
business?
money. Soapy Dog and Sleepy Dog.
Okay.
We're at dog wash, grooming, boarding.
Got it. Yep.
daycare.
Yep. You do the mobile dog washing thing?
No.
Okay. Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
ever want to.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
So what's
I
the?
guess mostly it's time and money, I guess.
So if you, I mean, you know, like she had one over there that was like she didn't have enough time for herself, or, you know, it was, you know, I don't know what it is. I mean, you have to come up with it, but there's,
Right.
you know, this, you know, sometimes you can start with the vision first and then go back to the dissatisfaction.
Oh, what's preventing that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually there's a dissatisfaction. You know,
Yeah,
if
so
you
I
want to
started
change,
looking at
usually,
goals and then like looked at these,
yeah,
and then I was like, okay, I want to sort of
Right.
action plan for marketing because I'm dissatisfied with the current
Yeah.
plan for marketing.
right. There you
So
go.
my vision is an assertive plan for marketing.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So the resistance is, you know, whatever.
Time.
Yeah.
The resistance is you're busy, you know, it's coming after you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Being reactive, whatever. Yeah, I mean, this is something, you know, you can work on this later too. It's not like you got to knock it out right now. It's helpful, I think, to get an idea. We'll share a couple, but that's good. That's really good. Yeah. Yeah. Who's got one that they'd be willing to share? All four: the dissatisfaction, the vision, the first steps, and the resistance. Okay. Yeah.
All right, we kind of mentioned it before. One thing, the training of my technicians,
Okay.
that's what I'm dissatisfied.
Okay, he's dissatisfied with how to train his technicians. He's in a locksmith business, and it's hard. You got to be certified to be in the locksmith business, and so you have to go through specific training to be. You can't just come off the street. You got to go through an apprenticeship kind of a thing. Yeah. Okay. Good.
And the vision is that rather than train them in the van, I want to train them inside my shop in a school type setting.
Okay.
And so the first steps I need to do is, number one, find the right people to train. But also I need a good syllabus to train from, get all that together.
Right. So you probably need to get the syllabus together and then go look for the people. Yeah. That right.
That's the resistance.
First steps.
That's hard to.
Yeah. The syllabus. You know, there are companies that have that already out there, but you know, it may not be training them the way he wants them trained. You know, and there's a lot of different things depending on what your specialties are, and it's kind of an interesting business in that respect. So what's holding you back from doing it?
Being too busy for one thing.
Too busy actually doing the work?
No, we're too busy reacting to the same problems because I haven't done it correctly.
Right. Okay. I mean, yeah, so, well, and that's definitely below the line, right? I mean, you know, so, I mean, you guys get it. It's good, thank you. Thanks, Alan. Yeah, appreciate you sharing. Yeah, so, who else has got one? Okay, Bob.
Profitability.
Profitability, right?
Vision is increased margins. Resistance is outdated software.
Okay.
And the first steps would be to research and find software that does what you want it to do.
Okay. All right. What do y'all think about that one? Okay. All right. So the dissatisfaction was profitability. The vision was what?
Increased margins.
Okay. See, we want to get real specific there. Increase margins to whatever.
Specific.
Yeah, to whatever. Increase margins by 3%. Increase margins to 30%. Whatever. We want to get specific on the vision. Visions need to be specific. The reason resolutions don't happen is because they're not specific enough. It's one of the reasons. Okay? The vision is not strong enough. Remember the formula. If dissatisfaction is really high but vision is really low, nothing happens. On the other hand, if dissatisfaction is nothing and vision is really high, probably nothing happens either. That's why we want to raise the bar, raise both of them, the vision and the dissatisfaction. We want to get a clear vision and raise the dissatisfaction. If you can raise your dissatisfaction high enough, I guarantee you'll take action. You won't be waiting around. Okay? If the vision is there. A lot of people don't take action because they don't know what to do. That's where the first steps come in. This can be used in sales too, by the way. Okay? You got to... The problem with raising the dissatisfaction in sales is it usually raises the resistance as well. You may know that. When you're out talking to somebody about doing business with you, if you really tick them off, the resistance is going to go up too. You know, if they get mad at you, if they associate you with their problem, usually, so you got to be careful on that one. But you can raise the dissatisfaction enough and then get the vision really high to show them what they need to do, which is basically sign an agreement to do business with you. That's the first steps in sales, and then get started. And the resistance is they don't know, like, and trust you. Pretty much in sales. Does it make sense? So you can use this you can use this all over the place. This is a formula for change of everybody, not just yourself. We're talking mostly about ourselves here. Who's got another one? One more. Let's go over one more.
Built-in redundancy and teamwork is my dissatisfaction. A vision would be a cross-trained team that can handle every issue, both good and bad, instead of being stuck. The resistance is habits and people not wanting to move forward, including myself.
Yeah. Who's in the habit of doing something? Just do it all the same way every day. Show up. Not going to change if you go back to your old habits, are you? I would suggest that if you have a habit that's holding you back, don't stop doing the habit. Find a habit to replace it with. It's hard to just stop, but if you have another habit to replace it with. So maybe the walking that I'm doing every morning isn't getting it. So maybe what I need to do is replace that with getting a trainer and going to the gym 3 times a day. It's not a bad habit. It's just a better habit I can replace it with. Does that make sense? Any questions about the formula for change? Understand that we've got to understand, that we need to know the areas that we want to change in before we can actually set some goals in what we want to do, which is where we're going pretty soon. Which is another reason the resolutions don't happen, because they never actually set them and make them a priority. It's sort of I'll do that if I feel like it. Then we get lazy and don't do it. The gyms are full of that, right? They got the massive memberships in January, and then, you can't get in them in the first 3 weeks in January, and then by about February, there are plenty of parking spaces around. Not to worry about it. Yeah. People give up too fast. Persistence. Does anybody have any questions, thoughts, comments about that? I don't want to move on if it's not clear. because this is a massively powerful concept. Okay? Okay, great question. Explain to me, give me one of your examples maybe, and we can.
Not getting enough done during the day. My vision is getting more accomplished to accelerate my performance. And the resistance would be distraction, time management, unorganized. So.
Okay, so the vision is what?
Getting more accomplished to accelerate my performance.
Okay, the first thing I would say is we need to figure out what the vision needs to be clearer. Okay, so what do we need to get accomplished? You know, how does that look? I'm not sure. What business are you in?
Landscaping.
Landscaping. Okay, great. So I'm not sure what that looks like, but maybe and sometimes it's like I'd like to get everything I need done in 5 hours a day or 4 hours a day, or sometimes you can set it so you can sort of put a limit on it with the time. So the first steps would be basically scheduling the functions that you need to get done and sort of blocking them into a calendar and then working to the calendar. So we call it a default diary or default. It's a default diary. In other words, I'm going to work on X from 8 to 9, take a break from 9 to 9:10. At 9:10, I'm going to work on Y. It's like a class schedule almost. It's hard to get physics done in 8 hours, but an hour a day, you can learn physics, if that makes sense. Does that help? Mm-hmm. Does that answer the question? Does everybody get that? It's a great question. Because usually the first steps are apparent, but not always. Not always. And it could be that maybe there's some tools out there that I could help you with that. But yeah, but basically, you're going to want to get some sort of calendar to work to. So you're working to the clock rather than to the task. Okay, that's the key to time management. Work to the clock, not the task. Because how many of you know that, like, if you're taking an SAT test or something and there's a time limit, you're going like crazy. You're mad. You know, if you worked like that all day long, imagine what you'd get done if you're working to a time limit. Interesting.
Bill, on that, I think is one thing I've learned, because I've moved my list to electronics, because my phone's always with me, smartphone, tablet's always with me. I don't let anything ever drop off if I don't get accomplished that day. It moves to the top of the list the next day.
Good idea.
I try to keep it realistic too.
Sure.
I know that I can only have
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Prioritizing on that is.
Yeah. So one of the things that you would want to do in your plan is to, the first week or two is probably develop this sort of schedule for yourself and test it out, see if it's going to work for you about the second or third week, and then reorganize it. And so about the fifth or sixth week, you'll be in. It's kind of always a moving target. Great question. Any others? Perfect. All right, I got to give you a little bit of framework before we can move on. So in growing any kind of business or any kind of strategies, there's actually 6 steps to grow a business. And I'm going to rip through these. It's all in the book right here, The Business Coach. And, we're going to sit down with everybody individually sometime. We'll spend some time on it. But the first level is called mastery. Okay, and what's involved in mastery is money mastery. So first, do you know, do you get your financials? Do you understand what to do with them? Are you testing, measuring everything? Do you have an accountant? Is Beth your accountant? Do you have, are they giving you the reports you need when you need them? That sort of thing, so that you're in control of the money side of your business and the financials. For those of you who don't like the financial side of the business, you need a bookkeeper, but you do need to understand your financial statements enough so that you can make good decisions. Okay, you don't have to be a CPA. I'm not suggesting that. You just need to understand your financials enough to get it. So that's money mastery. Then you have time mastery, which is what she was talking about. Okay, that's being in control of the allotted time that you have. Okay? All right, so do you have a default diary? Do you have things? We're going to go through an exercise where we're going to check through a bunch of this stuff, but I want to give you a quick overview of where we're headed, okay? Then there's destination mastery. So what's your vision for your business? What does this business look like when it's done, when it's finished, okay? And then you have delivery mastery, and I'm not talking about truck delivery mastery. I'm talking about your basic levels of customer service. Are you giving them the basic levels of customer service to allow us to be in business, okay? Everybody with me there? All right. The purpose of mastery is to move that business from the chaos to some sort of control or stability. All right? Okay? Now, then we get to niche, okay? And what niche is what sets you apart from anybody else. What's your uniqueness? It's what Chuck was talking about. What's your, we call it unique selling proposition, USP, okay? So what's your uniqueness? All right? Do you have a guarantee? All right, it's also got something there called the 5 ways, which I'm going to go over with you in a minute, which has to do with marketing and conversion rate and some other stuff. All right? From there, basically what we're looking for at that level is to create cash flow for your business. Okay? Now, leverage is where you're looking to build systems into the business. And it can be computer systems, but it's systems like, how do you take an order? How do you make the coffee in the morning? It's all written, it's all documented, because you want to move your business from being people dependent to being systems dependent. Okay? Does that make sense? So that if you need to bring somebody on board, then you plug them into your system. Rather than, how many of you have a few key people and if they left it would be not good? Yeah. All right, at the results level, that's where hopefully you got more time and more money to pop back into the business. So depending on where you are in the business level is depending on where you spend most of your time. Now, you're working at these all the time. They move up and down and everything. This just gives us a framework to do a checklist to check it out. Okay? Does that make sense? So it is a set path that we can get there. We've found that very few businesses get much past the niche level. Truly. The mastery and niche is generally where most businesses are. We get some that are in the systems and team, and everybody's working on systems and team in general, but a lot of them don't have the other stuff worked out. They haven't worked out what's different, okay? Not all of them, but some of them get there. Any questions about the 6 steps? All right, so the definition of a business is a commercial profitable enterprise that runs without you. That's period. That makes a business, okay? So mastery gives you the commercial enterprise, niche is profitable, leverage is where they get the business working rather than the business owners. The team is without you. And that synergy is where you can duplicate it, open another restaurant, franchise it, whatever you want to do. Now, I've got 2 cars up there. One's a Jaguar and one's a Ford Contour. What's the difference? One breaks down a lot more than the other one. Yep. Never had that one before, Bob. I'll leave it to you, yeah. What else is the difference? Yeah, it's impression. Yeah, is the Jaguar more expensive to buy than the Ford Contour? They're actually built on the same chassis. Okay? They're actually built on the exact same chassis. Okay, a lot of cars have done that. The Volkswagen, the original Porsche was built on a Volkswagen chassis. Okay, it's quite common in the auto industry. And what I know about businesses is that all businesses are alike. They're all built on the same chassis, but all businesses are different. Okay, a lot of what we're doing today has to do with all businesses. Okay, all businesses are different because why? People are different. We're all different. We're in different industries. There's all kinds of different stuff. Right. So a lot of the stuff we're covering today is generalized. What we call generalized principles is just the chassis. Okay? When I sit down with you individually, then we can talk about what's going on in your business and how we put the 2 together. Okay? Some of you have already been through that. I've got a few clients in the room. Some of you will be going through that or will choose to go through that. That'll be fine. You've spent your time with me this morning, so I'm going to offer that to you to sit down and have a chat with you about that stuff. Make sense? All right, so let's talk about it. All right. We call this the 5 ways. All right. So here's the formula. It's the number of leads you get. It's not in there. Just get a blank piece of paper and write it down if you want. Okay? It is in there, but it's hidden. Okay? So I don't, All right? Besides, I want you to remember this anyway. So you get a certain number of leads. Now, how you define a lead is up to you and your business. I usually define it as somebody who holds up their hands and say, hey, I got some interest in what you do, Bill. Okay? Some way, somehow. You've shown up for a seminar, you've called me, you've agreed to meeting, whatever. You said, hey, that's how I define it. Now, are all of those leads going to eventually buy something? No. Okay, so you're going to have a certain conversion rate, okay, which is going to be a percentage, which is going to give you your number of customers or clients or patients or whatever you call them in your business. Okay? Now, they're going to buy an average dollar amount. Now, some of it might be $3, some of it might be $3,000, some of it might be $300,000, depending on what the business is. And then there's going to be some repetitive rate that they buy on average. For some of you, it's one time every 7 years. For sometimes, if you're in the home building industry, that's about right. If you're in the dog grooming business, they might bring them in once every couple of weeks. Could be 26, 50 times a year. It could be every week. I don't know. Depending on what, could be once a month, 12. I don't know what the average is, but the average will be what the average is. Okay? And if you multiply those out, you're going to get your revenues. I usually like to use 1 year to do these numbers just because it's helpful, but you can do it over a week, or it's usually better to get some sort of moving average because these are all averages. Now, and then you're going to keep some of that money, hopefully, and that'll be your profit. So you have a profit margin. So you have 5 ways. Okay? So we can work on all 5 ways of these. Now, we have about 282 strategies, and they're all in this book right here, Instant Cash Flow, to work on these. But let me show you how it works. Let's put in some numbers. Okay, so here's a business. Now look, if your business doesn't do these numbers, don't freak out. If you have less leads, in a remodeling business, you might get 10 leads or 20 leads a year, whatever it is. You're not going to, it's going to be different. But it'll work in any business, okay? I'm going to use a bigger number here because it's helpful, okay? So the number of leads in this business is 4,000. Their conversion rate is about 1/4, okay? So that gives them what? 1,000 customers. Every customer buys about twice a year, okay? And they buy about $100. So in this business, we're talking about a $200,000 business, okay? And in this case, for ease of thing, they're going to keep about 25%, which means they're going to get about $50,000. So I'm going to show you the power of working on these 5 numbers. So what do you think the most important numbers in here? The red numbers or the blue numbers? Blue? Who says red? Everybody who says red, raise your hands. Okay, who says blue? Right. Well, what are the numbers? What's the mathematical sign before the red numbers? Equals, which means that the red numbers are an outcome. So you can't really work on the outcome without working on the input. So which are the most important numbers? They're all important. Now, the blue numbers are the ones we can work on. Okay? You didn't know you were going to have so much fun when you came in here this morning, did you, Alan? Yeah. All right, cool. All right, so let me show you the power of this. All right. So we're not going to get a 100% increase on any of these. We're not going to get a 50% increase. Now I've had it. I had a furniture repair guy that I worked with. I had a furniture repair guy that I got that his average dollar sale went from $383 to $740 a month. And so we ended up with a 188% increase in profits for the year just on one strategy. So it can happen that way, but what we really want to do is work on how many ways? Is this a hint? Yeah, okay, thank you. All right, so if we get a 10% increase, we advertise a little bit more, we do some referral strategies, whatever it takes to get, and we're just getting 400 more in a year. Do you think that's possible in this business? Sure. Good. All right. And we're going to, by the way, who measures conversion rate now? Patrick, you better get your hand up. Yeah, look, your conversion rate will go up 10% just by tracking it, period. I don't know why, it'll just happen. If you actually know it, it'll go up. If you don't know it now, and then you do start tracking it, it'll go up because you'll start paying attention to it. All right, so we get that up to 27.5%, which is going to give us 1,210. Okay? I just want to show you the power of this. All right? Now, we're going to get them to come back. We're going to get 1 in 10 to come back more often, which is going to give us 2.2. All right? Which is going to give us, now, we're going to get them, while they're there, we're going to get them to buy more. Now, how does McDonald's do this? What do you want fries with it? Yeah. How do they get them back more often? The Monopoly game. You come in because you're going to win something, or you win a fry and you bring it back and you put the fries in there. Works in any business. Okay? So our revenue is going to be up 10%, right? No. Yeah, it's actually multiplicative, right? So it's up to $292,820. Okay? Now we're going to figure out, we're going to do a little bit, we're going to cut a few costs, we're going to figure out how to charge a little bit more for some of the stuff, some of the areas we can. We're going to make another 10% on margins. And we're going to have, so what's going to happen there? 30,000 increase, 80,000. Which is, percentage-wise, and it always works this way, 46% increase in sales and a 61% increase in profits. It doesn't usually happen with 10, 10, 10, 10. Let's face it. There's going to be 1 or 2 strategies where you're going to hit it. Okay? So I'm just giving you this to give you the background, but this is huge in your business. These are the numbers that you want to be tracking. So some of your goals should be around some of these numbers. Leads, conversion. Maybe you're dissatisfied about your conversion rate. Maybe you're dissatisfied about your average sale. Maybe you're dissatisfied about your... Now, look, some of this stuff you can't control. I mean, in the car business, for example, we're only going to fix the stuff that needs fixing. Okay? So the average dollar sale, it's more about how many cars can we get in the door and converting them. So it's more about customers than the average dollar sale. And it's more about getting them back again. So depending on your business is depending on what you work on. Okay? Now, if you're in the dog grooming business, are there things that you can add on while they're there? They come in for one thing and you can say, boom, have you thought about this, or I'd recommend this while you're here. Would you like to get it done? And if you ask 10 people, 3 or 4 of them are going to say, sure, go ahead. But if you don't ask them, nothing happens. Make sense? All right, perfect. All right. When we're setting goals, we want them, and most of y'all have probably seen this, we want them to be SMART. So specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, in a time frame. Okay, it's a checklist to see how we're doing with our goals. So somebody give me a goal. Any goal. Sell $100,000. Is that SMART? Is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it achievable? Somebody sold $100,000? Yep. Is it realistic? Yep. Okay. Can be done in that time. Does it have a time frame? Doesn't have a time frame. Sell $100,000 in a month, a year, what? Put a time frame on it. Everybody see how that works? Okay. Perfect. All right. So let's back up. So what I want you to do is I want you to go over to the next page, which looks like this. And I want you to think a little bit longer term, okay? Because we got to come back from longer term. And so step 1 is the 3rd column over. It's your 5-year goal. Step 2 is the last column, which is why. Which is the most important, the goal or the why? The why. This is the most important column on the thing. So I want you to, and then step 3 is to take your 5-year goal and take it backwards. By the way, your goals, a 5-year curve usually looks like that. It doesn't look like that, okay? So your 3-year goal might not be that much more than where you were at 1, okay? Does everybody understand that? So what I want you to do is, I want you to, when you go through this worksheet, you want to go through and you want to have at least one financial goal, okay? I'd like for you to have one personal goal on here. You can save that and do it later if you want. But I'd like for you to work through and at least get your financial goal down here today so you can see how the process works and you can come back and get your other 2 or 3 goals out of the way, okay? If you're really quick, you can do it. So what's your 5-year goal? And that's usually sales or profits or income or whatever, okay? If you don't have a financial goal right now and you want to think about it, that's okay. Get a personal goal, and I want you to work through it. So get this out and work through one of these goals. So in other words, where do you want the business to be in 5 years? Then why is that important to you? It can be a personal financial goal. It can be, some people say, well, I want to make X amount of dollars. Some people say, I want this amount of sales in my business. Some people say, I want to get, then why is that important? Because if you just say, well, I want to make $1 million, why? You won't do it unless you've got a why, a big enough why. Okay? Does everybody understand the task? Does anybody not understand the task? It's good, but y'all get what I'm getting at here. I'm trying to get him to figure out what it is he wants. Who's got one? Yeah, Bob, go ahead. What's the 5-year goal?
The 5-year goal is increase sales by 35%. Step 2 is the reason is to make the business more profitable for more level cash flow, sort of make the cash flow better.
Okay.
And then when I go to step 3 is 14.3%, just rounded off, increase in sales by year 3. And then you go to step 4, which is 3.5 to 4%. I just rounded it off, increase in sales per year, which I think is a realistic goal.
Okay, so he wants 35% increase in 5 years. That's important because that's going to allow him to have cash flow that's more even. Because right now it's up and down, it's really seasonal business in the power equipment business. So, but if we can level that out towards the end of the year, that'd be good. Then he's gone back and said, okay, about 15% after 3 years and about 4% or 5% for this first year. Okay? Got it? Everybody see how that works? Now you can do this in anything, and I would suggest that you're going to probably want to have somewhere between 3 and 6 of these goals. And you take this sheet out and put it up on the wall and you change it. You go through and modify it. Now, when you get in a car and you're set to go to St. Louis, do you necessarily have to go to St. Louis? Yeah, well, you can start out for St. Louis and you can change it and go to Houston if you want to, or you can go to Minneapolis, or you can go wherever you want to go, really. That's the same with plans. And one of the hesitations here in doing goals is you're saying, well, I want this to be perfect. Don't do that. Stop it. Just put some stuff down and change it as you go along. Okay, if it isn't making sense, it's not right. What I find is when people start writing down their goals, they're either way too ambitious or way too easy. You'll learn yourself and how to set them up to make them happen. Okay? Same with plans. So the next thing that people don't do to get their resolutions to do is they actually don't do resolutions, which are the goals that you need to work on. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. I'm actually going to come back to this. I want you to go over to page 10. And this is going to maybe help you know a few more of your goals, or at least some of your strategies. We're going to get into the strategies. So on 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, there's a grid there, and it says, like the first one says, I know on average how much I make on each sale and record it, so I know my margins. That's either a yes or a no answer for you, or not applicable. In some businesses, it could be not applicable. If you, for example, have no control over your margins, If you sell investments, you probably have little or no control over that, okay? So it could be not applicable. And then it says over there, it says, I will work on this in the next quarter. So that's divided into 4. So that's quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. If you want to work on it this quarter, then check it, or if you think it's going to be in the next 90 days, then check it in the, if it's no, then you want to check maybe one of those, or if you want to work on it this quarter, check that first box. If you don't know if you want to work on it, don't worry about it. Now, that's probably as clear as mud, okay? So let's try that again. So let's try one. Okay, so I'm going to say, I know on average how much I make on each sale and record it. And I'm going to say no. Okay, I don't know on each sale and how to record it. Do I want to work on that in the next 90 days is the question I'm asking myself. And if the answer is yes, then I check that first box. If it's no, then I don't check anything right now. Everybody understand it now? Okay, so I just want you to do mastery and niche. You can do leverage later, but for the most of you, frankly, you're at the mastery and niche level right now. A few of you might be at the systems level, the niche or the team. You can do those later. But for the sake of time, I want you to go through and just check the box. It's easy, yes or no, and just check if it's something you might want to work on this quarter. Okay? If it's not applicable, just put not applicable. Got it? These are some of the strategies that you might want to put in place in your plan, which is the next thing that people don't do with their resolutions. They make a resolution and then they don't make a plan. If you have any questions about what any of the strategies are, I can help you with that too. Some of them use some terminologies that might not be common throughout business.
What's the default pattern?
Yeah, that's the one I usually get. Yeah. The default diary. Let me just give you an example. I can send you one that you can work off of. But the default diary, the basic idea is that you want to create your ideal week or your ideal diary. Okay? And so there's certain functions that you need to do every week. Okay? Hey, on your tables, if you listen to this is important for the default diary. It'll be helpful in moving forward, then you can get back to your conversations. But the default diary is basically designed to keep the stuff out that's getting in the way of you accomplishing what you want to accomplish. Okay? And so what you do is, basically you got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You can have Saturday and Sunday on if you want there. Okay? And so you got the days. Over here you've got, 6. I like to divide it in, 15-minute increments or whatever. Okay? And you go all the way down to 7 or whatever you want. Okay? All right, and the idea is that, okay, so if you really want to, let's say you start at, maybe you exercise or something, so you put your personal stuff in first that you want to get accomplished personally, and then you start plugging in blocks of time to work on, maybe the first thing you do is 15 minutes, which would be email, okay? I don't like doing it there, and I prefer to do email in the middle of the day, but that's some people like doing it first. But you got to keep if you're good enough to stop doing it at 6:30, okay, then whatever, okay. So, and then you just end up with a whole bunch of blocks of time of stuff you want to do, and the idea is to keep the stuff out. So there's certain functions in your business. So maybe you got marketing you want to do, maybe you got sales that you need to do, maybe you got the actual work of the business, maybe you got to hire people, supervise people, whatever it is. You put them into these blocks of time, okay, throughout the whole thing, and then it creates sort of your ideal week, and then it becomes like a class schedule. And the idea is you want to work to the time, work to the clock, as opposed to working to the task. Most of us work to the task. We got a to-do list, a whole bunch of stuff to do. There's 100 things on it. We never get it done. It always stays 100, okay? But if I work on, if I do follow-up calls here, and I do sales calls here, and I have a meeting here, and it's set every week, you know, and then I, you know, got golf here, you know, whatever, then, you know, you just set up your ideal week on how you want it to be. And then you work to the clock, and you get more done. So it's the example I went back before. You wouldn't try to learn algebra and, you know, working solid. You wouldn't do like algebra, you know, the whole day. You wouldn't do it. You'd do an hour a day or an hour and a half a day, you know, 3 times a week or 4 times a week to get it. And that's what you do here. You set up your day. So there's certain functions that you need to do. So that's what it is. Okay? All right. I'll let you get back to your conversation. Any questions about the default diary? It's a very, very powerful tool. I don't think I put one in there. I will email you guys a default diary. I'll give you a paper version of it. You can use Outlook to do it or any of your calendar programs. Okay. You guys are going to have to finish this as part of your home fund so that I can stay on track. So that we can stay on track and get you guys out of here by 11. But we can stay around more if you want. All right, look. So if you take all the stuff you're dissatisfied about and your long-term goals and all these checklists that you had, then you've got a whole bunch of ideas on how to move this thing forward. Is that right? Okay? So the next step, once we have all that, is to actually start to make a plan. Okay? All right, so if you turn over to page 22, then what you want to do, and I'm just going to take you through how to do this, you want to take sort of your top 15 ideas in no particular order and get them down. These are strategies or things you might want to work on this year. Okay? So you want to just take them and throw them in as a bundle, top 15. Okay? If you don't have 15, give me 10. So, do that right now? Sure. These are not goals. No. These are strategies to achieve your goals. What you just checked off are a bunch of strategies, guys. Does that make sense? I mean, if you look at your strategy, I mean, you should have all the ones that say, that checked in that, in there somewhere. Okay, like this one right here. I have identified my target market and market specific to them. If you don't know who your target markets are, then that might be something that you want to do. One of the strategies you might want to do this year is identify all your target markets. Okay? And then develop marketing plans for the top 3 target markets that you want to attack. That might be one of your strategies. Does everybody see how that works? The next mistake that we make with resolutions is not breaking things down into small enough time increments and into small enough strategy increments. So what happens is we've got a 5-year goal, a 3-year goal, a 1-year goal. We don't have a 90-day goal. We need to have 90-day goals coming out of here. That's what we're going to do. This is what we're going to work on. What are we going to work on over the next 90 days? Does that make sense? That's what these, of these 15 strategies, chances are we're not going to work on all of them over the next 90 days, but they're the top 15 as we see it now. We're going to prioritize these to help us move down. So in general, go through your checklist and see what you want to work on. All right. I want you to pick your top 1. And then we'll do 2. Which doesn't matter. If you got 2 even ones, just eeny, meeny, miny, moe it. Flip a coin, whatever. If you got 2 you want to get done. We're going to do more than one thing in 90 days. So it doesn't really matter. All right. So what you do is you take that 1 And you go over to strategy number 1. This page is not marked, but it's the one after the 15. It's the next page over. And it says, okay, this is strategy 1. So whatever your top strategy is, you write that at the top. And then you fill in the actions that you need to take. So we want to divide the strategy into the actual tactics or tasks that need to happen to make that strategy work. Does that make sense? All right. Who's got one they want to do? We'll just go through it so you can see how it works. Come on. It's a chance for some free coaching here. Yes, Kate, what do you got? Okay, so the strategy is to figure out which lead generation actually generates the best leads for you. Great. All right, so what do y'all reckon the first step or the first action that she would need to take maybe in week 1? Well, we need to. We're not looking. We just want to figure out which strategies bringing us the best leads right now. So we're right. So the first step would be, what are you doing now? What is your marketing now? Great. So you know where the leads are coming from. So then we know. So for example, I'm going to use a simple one that everybody's familiar with. You probably aren't using it much now, but let's say Yellow Pages. Okay. So let's say Yellow Pages. I had a client one time spend $7,000, $8,000 a year on Yellow Pages. Let's say $7,000 on Yellow Pages. And let's say out of that you're getting 5 calls a month. Okay, so you set up a spreadsheet that says, okay, how many calls are we getting out of it? So we know our cost per lead. Because if somebody calls, then we're getting a cost per lead. Now here's the next step. We have to set up a way to measure the conversion rate. Okay, so that of the 5 leads we get, do we close any of them? What we found we did this test with one of my clients, and we found out we got $7,000 for spending $7,000. So it was zero. We were making nothing on it. So, and then the kind of projects that are coming from Yellow Pages. So basically, you just create a tracking spreadsheet that says what kind of jobs we get. I can send you one. What kind of jobs you get, and did we get the job? Because if you go through, because you'll have 6 or 8 different kind of marketing strategies. Some of them you're going to spend money on. You're going to get, it's going to end up costing you, $1,000 per lead, $2,000 per lead, whatever. And then you take the kind of business that it's bringing you, and you just figure out your profitability on that job per the amount of money you spent. Now, have I lost you? All right. So what you would do is you would take your actions for each of your top 5 or 6 strategies, and you've got the step by step by step by step for each one. For example, if you wanted to raise prices, the first thing would be to do a survey of what your existing prices are across the board. Then you would decide, okay, on these areas I believe I could raise prices in these. So then you would raise prices. Then you would test and measure and see how that worked. And then you may want to, you might be able to raise prices again. So you come back out after you've measured and tested. This whole thing could take 6 or 8 weeks, but you'd have a step on that strategy every week. So what you do is you take this last page, which is basically a calendar, and you take strategy 1 and you calendar in the actions on your calendar. Now I don't care if you use this or Outlook or whatever you want to use, but you got to get it on a calendar so that in week 1 you're going to take and do these 3 or 4 things. Now that might be 3 or 4 different strategies that you're working on, and week 2 is 3 or 4 different strategies. Yeah, I personally like to use just a piece of paper, and put the weeks across the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on out to 52. Get a butcher paper, and then put in the strategy. So the strategy here, and then put the task in each week. So strategy A, you know, A.1, A.2, A.3, etc. Whatever you're going to do. My goal for you here today is to understand the process, not necessarily to complete the process. We just don't, it's beyond the scope of what we got to do today in our time frame. There are a couple of guidelines here, and I think these are important. One is, you might not want to do the easiest things. You might, if there's something you really need to knock out, it'd be better to get one strategy that you really needed to happen and get it in place over this quarter than to spend and try to do 15 or 20 of these strategies at once, okay? The important thing is to get it out, get it planned out, and work on it consistently, even if all you do is one thing a week. If you're so busy in your business and everything's coming at you, but you're going to do one thing that's going to be proactive, that's better than none.
Oh, it makes you feel great when you get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's like back to the default diary. It's like one of the tendencies we have if we don't have the hard stuff, I like to put the hard stuff first thing in the morning because I figure if I do it, the rest of the day is going to be a lot easier. So does everybody understand the process? Basically, we start with dreams. We get some goals. We build a plan. We divide the plan up into strategies. And then we divide the strategies into individual tactics. So it's called divide to multiply. We take everything down to little pieces, and then we get it on a calendar. The last step that I think people don't have in resolutions is accountability. How many of you have bet on something, had money in it on your resolutions? Yeah. Yeah, you usually do it, don't you? If there's money involved. Yeah. But you've got, I don't care how you create accountability. You know, get an accountability partner. Hire a coach, hire me. And whatever it takes to get your resolutions done. But you got to build accountability into it or it just doesn't happen. I know that was fast, but I did want to get through the whole process. I thought it would be unfair if we didn't get through it with you. Besides the accountability, the last thing that I think people leave off in resolutions is keeping them front and center. Okay? And so I'm going to give you a process that'll allow you to keep it front and center. It's called IVVM. If you read any of the books on success, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, any of those, it's pretty much the same process. So it's idealization. What's ideal? It's visualization. It's getting it in your head or getting a picture of it, of what you want. It's verbalizing it. So what that looks like is affirmations generally. You know, what you want it to be. I am, $100,000 richer, or I am in the process. If that sounds like a lie to you, then make it I am in the process of 100, and then materialization is what just happens. Now, I don't know why this works, but I'm here to tell you it does. Okay? Once again, it's the brain thing. Here's what I believe. I believe if you get clear in your head what you want, your brain figures out how to get it. Okay? And if it's clear enough, you'll figure it out. And you've all experienced this somewhere in your life. There was something you wanted in your life. There was some, a relationship you wanted, and you figured it out. Okay? Idealization is the first one. This is this is the dream. Okay, this is where you want to think big. This is where you want to go out 10 years, 5 years. On out, thinking about what it is you want to accomplish. I told you my idealization is to help thousands of people in Western North Carolina. So right now my brain's trying to figure out how to do that. I think it's multiple. It's working with, in addition to one-on-one clients, but a whole bunch in multiple areas. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Visualization. Sit down in the morning, 10 minutes. Go through, create a dream board. Go through it, look at the pictures. Visualize what you want. Prayer works pretty well. I'm a big believer in that. Now, here's what doesn't just happen. We're not in control of the time frame a lot of times. It's not instantaneous. Might take years. I wanted to go to the Great Wall of China. I showed you the picture. I had the opportunity this past summer, and so I took it. But it was on my list to do. Bucket list. How many of you got a bucket list? Bucket list. How many of you got a bucket list? Get your hands up. Good. I'd recommend, what's the top 50 or 100 things you want to get done? Want to do, see. All right. So a couple of last thoughts to leave you with. Make sure you get me the feedback forms. Brad says, look, whenever you're making a decision, if it doesn't scare you a little bit or get you a little bit excited, it's probably not a good decision. Does that make sense? It's usually a good decision when you're feeling that. Usually. Chairman of Home Depot, believe that people, unless coached, never can reach their maximum capabilities. If I'm not your coach, find somebody to coach you. I don't care who it is. It's accountability, we all need it. Okay? I've got a coach that one of the guys on the Great Wall is my coach. So find somebody somehow. Whatever you can afford, work it out. Trade it out with somebody if you don't have the money to invest in coaching right now. That's fine. Just get some coaching somehow, some way. And if you think back on the rest of your life, you know you've had mentors the whole way. I want to say that y'all been a great crowd. I hope you've gotten good value out of this morning. I know we've ripped through a lot, but I felt like it's what we needed to do to get y'all off to the right start this year and hopefully get you to make a shift in what you got going on in your lives and in your businesses. So thanks for coming, and we hope you'll show up for some other stuff we have. So thanks, Chuck. Thanks, Chuck.